Hi, this is going to be an in-depth look at the audio design in Throw Rock. This is an aspect of the game that I'm particularly proud of, partially just because I felt like Audiolab here held up so well for putting together all the sound effects in the game. So I have all of the audio files in here. Unfortunately, the order in which these was made is kind of lost to time, so I'll just have to sort of pick my order as I go through them. I don't want to go alphabetical because that's just not going to be in the right order. But anyway, yeah, so I'll go through all the audio files and the one music track that made it in and the one on the cutting room floor that didn't make it in. Just some words about audio design in general, how I think about it in games. It's, to me, it's one of the most important things for game feel. So like if I would launch Throw Rock right now and try playing this without any sound, here's what that feels like. It's just not anywhere near as good. You know, it's there. Things work, but I can't feel the actions the same way I can when they make noise. So I think just seeing that contrast between like no audio and full sound effects is always just a really striking thing during game development. Like as soon as I start adding sound effects to something, it just so completely changes the feeling of everything. It's magic. Audio is amazing. And then music helps set a mood. Oh, right. I have a thing happening where when I disable music, it doesn't restart the loop or anything, which it probably should. Anyway, yeah, so sound design, very important for game feel. So I really wanted to get it right. Now, I do sort of think of audio and animations as going hand in hand. I wish I'd had more time to put together animations for the counterparts to most of the sound effects I made here. I at least got one for exiting the level, but that was about as far as I got. And yeah, not every sound effect would have an animation counterpart, but for the most part, I think of those two things as sort of tied together. Yeah, very important things for game feel. You know, stuff that's not a part of the game's mechanics, but a very important part of its presentation. Anyway, so let's start with the move sound. So the idea I had in mind for this was, once again, this game I keep coming back to for some reason. Explorer had a move sound that was pretty much just a very low frequency. What am I looking for? Pulse wave. Not that. Very, very low frequency. Lower than that. Lower than that. Okay, not quite that low. So like that, but a lot shorter. And without the... Here, let's make this flat. And shorter... No, that's... Wait, how do I shorten this? Oh, I don't have a way to do it. Oh. Alright, well, let's cheat then. Okay, so here's where Audiolab's capability is just are a little short of... Okay, if I set my release to 0... and my peak amp to the same as my sustain amp, and my attack to 0-ish, and then put the sustain about here. So there's basically like 3 sounds going on there. So there's the sound when the audio goes from neutral to the up state. Then when it transitions here, then it goes from the down state to neutral. Here's this. Explorer's audio just sort of rested at the upstate for a while, so this would sound more like, is there a way I can do this here? I think there is. Okay, let's make this a higher frequency to the point where we have one cycle in there. Then if I were to, I think I have a thing, time value transform, value offset, yeah, check this out. And then time offset, here we go. And then shorten this. That's close enough. Anyway, so that was, that's not really what Explorer sounds like, but it's, Well, that's really not what Explorer sounds like. Hold on, I have somewhere. Okay, we're going a little off the rails now, but I want to make sure to get this right. Where do I keep this thing? Is it in here? Explorer sounds. Okay, so here I just have like a bunch of sounds from Explorer saved away. Move sound's going to be in here. So what does the move sound like? That's Fountain. That's Zap Recharger. Here's Move, probably. Yeah, so what it gives it sort of its characteristic timbre is the width of that. But anyway, yeah, so just with audio resting here, so ignore like the leading click and the trailing click there. Just listen to this one. But just that little sound. Anyway, that was what I was working with as my bass, and I wanted to I don't know. There's a lot that I don't know. Anyway, I won't be able to get a perfect reproduction of that. So there were lots of problems there with the centering of the pulse wave, and I wanted something more than just a simple pulse wave. So basically I wanted that effect, more or less, something very distinctly clicky, but with only a single, starting at 0, ending at 0 with one single sharp move in there, but not quite as sharp. I have this little slope in here. I could have moved this left more, because there's like this much latency at the start before it actually plays the move sound. Yeah, I could have moved that left more if I'd worked with it some more. One thing that I found incredibly useful about this program that I didn't have in SFXer or BFXer or any other sound effects generator that I've made is this live waveform update. That was just super valuable. Yeah, okay, so here I was doing this stuff. So what I needed to do was make my attack... Oh, jeez, okay. Everything is so short that, like... Let's see, if I Control-Shift, I can drag this slower. I do need some attack, so that starts down there, but this is starting at the wrong part of the... Yeah, anyway, so it's fiddly. Sort of toward the middle is just where the click of the move ended up. But yeah, I just wanted something that would be satisfying sounding, not annoying, not too loud, not too, ear-piercing or anything, but just this real satisfying, very distinct click sound for when you move around, so you know exactly what happens. Anyway, yeah, so I think I'm happy with the design of that one. That one came out well. There's a bump sound for when you bump into a wall or a door or something. And a separate one for bumping into something you can't walk into. So sort of like a Draught equivalent of, Breather goes, oh, when you bump into a wall, and when you bump into a pit or water. So that's how those differ. So bump is like this. It's a triangle wave with a little bit of extra. Okay, there's a reset in it. So if this weren't there, it would just sound like that. Just adds a little bit of high frequency to it and makes it more audible. This would just get lost in the low frequencies of like the... Well, what is happening with my cursor there? It's like being weird. Huh. I wonder why that is. Yeah, this would just get lost in the low frequencies of music and stuff. So I want that little bit of extra sound there to make sure it stands out. Similar for the... what is it? Move fail? Yeah, that's the other one. What? I just wanted this to not sound like you're bumping into anything, just... I don't know, it doesn't sound like much of anything. It's just a sound. I messed around until I had something good. Good enough for the purpose. So yeah, those are just like signals for ways that you're moving. Let's see, what other... I think that's all the move sounds that exist, pretty much. So then the sounds that have to do with the rocks. So picking up a rock. Pretty standard, just, pulse wave, stair step upward in the middle. So it plays one note, then it switches frequency to a higher one. I guess right here at this point you can see where it happens. you know, it sounds like a video game pickup sound. And then putting down is just sort of the opposite of that. I chose deliberately different notes, so none of those four are the same. These are not like... are they by accident? Yeah, no, they are not notes on a piano keyboard. These are just frequencies that are, you know, somewhere. They're not meant to be musical. They still come across that way, sort of, but those are like semitones. Anyway, yeah, so pick up, put down, throw. Important sound you'll be hearing a lot. It should be fairly distinctive. You know, you'll be hearing it a lot, so it shouldn't be too annoying. But also should sound related to picking up and putting down. So sort of the sound identity of the rock is that pulse wave. And instead of a stair step, this is a ramp down. Curved so it levels out at some point. So if it didn't curve, and that instead was linear, well, now it's just going down a lot lower. Yeah, it's slightly different. It's subtle, but there is a difference. Other rock sounds. There's when a rock bumps into something, which is rock bump. Similar to player bump, just a little different. Is the reset point at a different spot? 0.7. Oh, but this is a triangle wave, and that one is a sloped sawtooth, I think? Yeah, sawtooth with a different incline. So basically same as... So if I did... Whoa, so if... Oh... Okay, it thought a modifier key was down. All right, I see what was wrong there. Why is this not equivalent to the other one? Because triangle starts here, goes up, goes down, then ends back at 0. My sawtooth was starting at 0 and ending at 0? Really? That doesn't sound right. Rock bump. But it is. Okay. Huh. All right. So, anyway. Same principle, just a slightly different underlying wave shape. What else can a rock do? It can gain elemental powers, but I want to talk about those when I talk about elemental powers. Is that all the rock does? It lands. It breaks walls. Okay, so... What do I call this? Rock land? Rock land. Not a very distinctive sound, but that's what it sounds like. That's not one I feel particularly great about. Again, it's all bass, has no high frequency in it or anything, so it's just going to get lost in the music mix and other things, but, you know, there's a quiet little sound there for a rock landing. It's usually not a very important action when it happens on land, not like on a pressure plate, which, you know, these things are all clicky. Yeah, I heard the rock land sound in addition to the pressure plate toggling. Those do play together, but like it mostly gets lost among the other sounds. So yeah, I'd probably do something a little different for this if I were to spend some more time on it. Okay, so a rock can break a wall, but this is more about the wall itself breaking. So this has white noise as a base. Just played with different seeds until I got one that I like. This, changing the seed used for the noise can really change the character of the sound. So you can still hear the, you know, the ramp down frequency, the amplitude envelope and everything, but like the seed really does make a significant difference. Anyway, yeah, so that's just, again, just generic video game, something got shattered. Not a whole lot of time spent on that. I could have done something fancier with that if I'd wanted to, but that felt like enough for the time. You can tell that something is breaking. That's basically what it sounds like. So I think that's all the rock stuff until I'm ready to get into elements, right? Just because it's not really related to anything else, let's look at undo. So there's that quiet little sound for undoing. It's quiet enough that it doesn't stand out. Should be mostly audible. One person at least I know didn't realize it was there. So maybe could have stood out a little bit more with the music on and everything. How does that sound? I don't know, it's audible to me. But maybe in the thick of things, you know, my big loud keystrokes here, maybe it gets lost sometimes. Anyway, and then related to that is reset. This one is all bass, has no high frequencies or anything going on, just a triangle wave that stair steps down 3 times. Again, these are non-melodic tones, right? Yeah, more or less. If I do this, they're sort of melodic. Yeah, I guess they are. You can play that on a piano if you want. But not really meant to be that way. Yeah, just sounds like, you know, you're going back in time, you undid some stuff. I don't know, it does its job. It doesn't need to be loud or anything, just some little marker that something happened. So this one wasn't meant to stand out, it's just meant to be present just enough. I could have done without a reset sound, but I like to have sound effects for every action when I can. Oh, interesting, this gets the cursor in the background. Okay, yeah, it would do that. I could make it not, but it does. So yeah, that's undo, that's reset, yep. So that's enough of those. Pressure plates. 2 little bits of white noise using a pulse amplitude envelope here. If I just set this to like flat or something. Well, that's unpleasant. Yeah, so stair step upward. Just, you know, one is at one frequency, the other's at the other frequency, 2 very distinct sounds. Just when something, you know, clicking in, and then the opposite, clicking out. Plate release. And are those exact opposites in tone? Let's see, 2.882, negative 0.6. Is that 2.282 on the other one? 2.265, pretty close. So yeah, nearly mirrored, but not quite exactly. Very similar to pick up and put down. Same principle at work here. Just 2 two-tone things reversed to communicate the opposite of an action. And yeah, these are using white noise as a base, so they have, you know, same as like breaking oh, sorry, there's another thing a rock can do. Yeah, I think that covers those well enough. Rock could be lost. What kind of wave is that? White noise as a bass, but with a low pass filter on it. Yeah, okay, so low pass white noise, also a little bit of high pass on that too. It's doing that thing again. I thought I fixed that, but apparently not. I was sure I fixed that, but I guess I'm wrong. Okay, so modifier keys when I'm opening my dialogue come through, and my program thinks that I'm still holding the shift key, the control key, I guess, which when I control click a slider, it resets. So that's why my sliders are being weird. I don't know why this is though. When I move my cursor a whole bunch, this doesn't update. I have some ideas though. Anyway, I always find bugs in my tools every single time I try to put them on video. They're just like that. So other than the low pass, high pass filter, what's going on here? Just a pretty sharp, very low frequency. So low frequency that my graph doesn't even show it. But if I set the base value higher, that's the... Oh, what a weird shape. It goes down, then curves back up just a little bit before leveling off. Okay. But yeah, so very low frequency white noise has the character of sound that I wanted. For just, you know, thing was lost. Anyway, yeah, so a lot of this is just such a... I don't really have words for the kind of art that it is, so, you know, I can show you how these things are put together. I can't always explain why they are the way that they are. Okay, yeah, so rock lost, plate pressed, plate released. How about those red, blue switches. I was real happy with that sound. I knew what I wanted. The thing I had in mind when I was making this sound was the red and blue switches in an Untitled Story, which had a similar sort of two-tone thing, but they had like a delay effect on them with quite a long interval on it. Okay, which track is which here? This is the white noise track. This is the other one. If I'd mute this. So yeah, this consists of two separate components. There's the little white noise at the start, which is just like, you know, the impact against the switch. And then the, what is it, Alt to do this? Shift? Well, Shift just does all of them. There's a button that would let me toggle these. Well, I guess I could just do it this way. Anyway, so yeah, those two components. If I were to add a delay filter to this, yeah, that's kind of the effect. Let's activate the other track too. It doesn't sound... I think there was also a bunch of reverb going on in an Untitled Story. But that's, you know, that's what I had in mind. I did it without the delay or reverb or anything. And the other little trick to this, why it sounds the way it does with the particular character it has, is that, yeah, the white noise is straightforward enough. It's just, I guess it does ramp down, just, you know, that kind of envelope. Nothing special with the waveform. But there is something a little bit special with the, okay, this is an inclined sawtooth. So just like a little gentler than a full sharpness sawtooth. So this has the stair step on it. Sure, that's obvious. But then there's a little bit of vibrato there too. So without the vibrato, it sounds like that. With, it just kind of crazes it a little bit. Just gives it this extra little wonkiness to it. And I think that's an important part of the character of the sound. The vibrato makes a big difference. It's subtle. There's not a lot to it. It's very weak. If I turned this up more, it would sound like that. But yeah, just a little bit does the job. Is that 0.35? You know, I could change the speed. At certain speeds, it sounds like there's nothing there, but just at just the right speed. Let's see, where's the... Here, let's just revert. Yes. Yeah, anyway, so the vibrato is sort of the secret in the character of that sound. And then I think the other one, this was switch... Oh, I don't have the file name displayed here. I think that was blue. Yeah, so red is... I think that is an exact opposite. So yeah, the tones are the same both ways, just reversed in order. And yeah, you could clearly see that the spacing's the same. So yeah, just exact opposites of each other. Anyway, yeah, so that was a switch sound. Okay, anything else to talk about before elements? There's the level complete sound. This one, I'm so happy with this. That was just... very happy sound to have put together. I wanted, you know, something celebratory for finishing a level. It should be loud and in your face. You know, the amplitude is pretty high on this, as these sounds go. It is musical, so all of these, you can play this on a piano if you want. I don't know what key it's in. You know, it's an arpeggiated chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes. And, you know, there's a little more to it than that. It's one single waveform, so the first note doesn't continue when the second one, when it switches to the other frequency. And then the other thing going on here is there's a delay on it. Oops, you might play from there. So where my cursor is, you'll play with the... Interesting. Anyway, so with the delay, without the delay. So it's kind of like a cheap reverb. I need some real reverb here in this program. I just don't have it yet. But yeah, the delay gives it that sort of pseudo reverb effect that makes it sound like it's kind of echoing a little bit. And then an amped up version for all levels complete. So that's kind of the celebratory tone you get for the last level, which kind of sneaks up on you by surprise, because you go into this game expecting 16 levels, you finish level 13, and hey, wait a minute. Before you can register what's going on, you hear this different sound and you're dumped to the level select screen. That kind of happened by accident, but I'm real happy with it. So just there's a little bit of surprise involved there. Yeah, so this has kind of like one longish note, then a real quick little trill, then it delays for a bit, then repeats the pattern. And without the delay, the other kind of delay, it just wouldn't sound like much. But yeah, so you can see how important the delay component of that is. As far as waveform, it's just a simple inclined sawtooth. And yeah, this starts at middle C and goes upward, so does the other one. And then there's one more variation of that, which is the secret variation. What do I call it? Level complete secret. So right, I guess those other two are major key and this one is minor key or something. So something a little more mysterious is going on. There's that last extra note that goes way higher than the rest. I like what the delay does with it. I think the delay is shorter on this one. So delay interval is 0.218. On this one, no, it's the same. Never mind. What if it was shorter? Whoa, it's doing the modifier key thing again. Nah, no, it's better the way it was. Ignore what happened over on the right there. That's just a technical detail of this. Yeah, anyway, so without the delay, just doesn't sound like much. Like that high note just comes through so much more with the delay. Yeah, so anyway, that's all the variations of that. And I think all that's left is elemental powers. Now there's the ice melting. So when a fire rock lands either on one of these, or on frozen water to turn it into water, it plays that sound. What I had in mind with this was a sound from another game that I made a while ago, which is pretty similar. So Water Tower Classic had, but yeah, when I made the sounds for this game, it was a completely different process. Kind of similar. So these were made with different tools, long time ago, made from basic waveforms with, amplitude envelopes, frequency envelopes and stuff going on, but resulted in a similar thing for melting. So I remembered this sound that I had. Play. So that was Water Tower's ice melt sound. And I did something pretty similar here, just abbreviated, not taking up quite so much of the frequency space as this one did. Yeah, so that was this is a very emphatic sound. This one's like, you can tell what's happening, but it doesn't take up all the space in the room. Yeah, so just like a hot thing contacting a cold, wet surface was what I was going for here. Now freezing, the opposite of this. For that, this is one of the most complicated sounds that I made for the thing. For this, I had the being a nothingness freeze sound in mind. I don't have that one on hand, but watch that LP if you want to hear what that's like. It doesn't sound a lot like this, but that's what I had as a base. I was a little worried I wouldn't be able to get something that sounds like freezing. I mean, I guess this basically sounds like ice cracking, sort of, which is about the best audible way to represent something freezing, I guess, that I could come up with. So this is a pulse amplitude envelope with a controller slowing it down. I don't unfortunately have yet in Audiolab the capability of showing on this graph what happens when a controller acts on its parameter. But if I mute this, that's what it would sound like just with that pulse amplitude envelope. But it slows it down so that there's a longer and longer interval between the active periods here, where the loud noise is heard. And the floor of this is not at 0. You can see there's a little bit of space here. So the white noise, which is the bass wave shape, comes through a little bit when it's not in the loud parts. Min amplitude, onset, endpoint. Yeah, and at some point I do sort of fade out that amplitude floor. So if I would set this start value to 0, yeah, that just doesn't sound as good. There's like a little bit more going on. Like, yeah, it's just better with that extra like dirty silence instead of a super quiet silence in the middle. Just sounds like there's a little bit more going on, maybe a little farther from where your ear is. Anyway, so that's the idea there. And this is a repeating downward ramp on the frequency. That's kind of weird. What does that sound like with flat amplitude? I can barely hear it. Why is that so quiet? Oh, because my controllers are doing things. Okay, well that's what it sounds like. It's kind of unpleasant. I don't use a controller to stretch this one out. Okay, well, it works out. That does seem a little bit accidental. Like I think what I was going for here was for each individual one of these to be ramping downwards. But I think it's good as it is. Okay, so happy accident there. Okay, and since we're in the elemental powers here, sure, let's stick with ice for now. So there's the ice token. You step on it, it activates, plays this sound. And step on it again to deactivate it, it plays this sound. So you'll see sort of a... Oh, right, and if a rock goes over it and gains ice power, it plays that sound. So those three together, they all have... So they're all constructed out of the same components. Loudest one is activating the token. Originally, I had a problem with the old graphic design where where do I actually get to interact with an ice token? Ice keep, I do. Yeah, originally these were shaped in a way that was exactly overlapped by the player sprite, which was kind of a problem because you couldn't see what happened when you stepped on them. You still sort of can't, but at least you can tell the border colors changing a little bit. This was one thing I really wanted an animation for, but anyway. So yeah, those three sounds together, all made of the same components, but with different amplitudes and lengths and pitches. So it's there's a white noise, fairly high frequency rising white noise happening here. Yes, there are two tracks here. There's the white noise going up, and then the sine wave at a very high frequency. Not entirely sure what I was going for with that high frequency sine wave, but it just somehow sounds icy. It was something I thought I'd try, and I think it worked okay. And yeah, that's just an up-down amplitude envelope, nothing special with the frequency. That is a sine wave, right? Yes, sine wave. You can see it right there. So yeah, just activate highest frequency, deactivate lowest frequency, and that's a downward curve on the white noise this time. A lot quieter on the sine wave and stuff. High frequency stuff gets real loud, so it's important to keep that amplitude real low to not overpower everything else. And then when the rock gains the ice power, that's upward again, because you know something's activating, something's happening, it's not being undone. And then just a different sort of like freezy tone sound, just to distinguish it from activating the token. So yeah, just three variations of the same recipe pretty much. So then for fire is a little more complicated because it has torches also involved. So a torch being lit sounds like that. I don't know, just a pretty generic, this thing lit on fire sound. White noise goes up and then curves down a little bit. You could make this as SFX or if you wanted to. torch going out. See, a problem I have with this is it's sort of like a very amped down version of this. Yeah, so it's like ice melting. It sounds like the torch is being dipped in water and being extinguished that way, except the only time this plays is when it's being blown out by wind power. You can do it here. Oops. Yeah, so it doesn't quite fit the way that it's eventually used. I could have come up with a, blowing out a candle sort of sound that would have been very different. That'd be low frequency white noise with like maybe a pulse amplitude envelope. I'm not actually sure how I would do that, but yeah, low frequency white noise bass instead of this high frequency downward ramp. But this works. It's just a little weird for the specific use case. So that's torches, but then the fire tokens. Token fire activate. How is that different from torchlight? It's longer and goes higher. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. This is a low-pass white noise with some harmonics on it. Okay, well that's what the harmonics does. High-low pass is barely audible. Yeah, the strength is not very high. Oh, it's high pass, I see. Right, okay. And deactivate fire token. Not a lot to say about that, just downward curve on similar thing. Is that the same waveform? Looks to be. Alright, and then rock gains firepower. So yeah, much more enthusiastic upward curve, but still the same base. So yeah, just like ice, 3 variations on a recipe. One for the token activating, one for it deactivating, one for the rock gaining the power. And then the torch just happens to also sort of overlap with that. Okay, and then wind. That sounds windy enough, right? So that's a weird... What is this waveform? It's phased white noise, also smoothed. Okay, yeah, so that has a little bit too much hiss to it. That smooths it out a bit by, not putting the sharp edges on the noise waveform. So phaser. That's quite a difference. Is there a controller involved? There is. Huh. Okay, so phaser offset is being controlled with this, and that's the effect I get. Okay, well, I don't really have the vocabulary to explain why that is, but that's what it does. Wind deactivate, what's that like? Yeah, just a gentle upward ramp that levels off on the frequency. Okay, so kind of like that. The phaser must be managed differently for this. It looks pretty similar. Okay, well, that's the result. I can't really adequately explain how it gets there, but that's what it is. And then rock gains wind power. Again, just a variation. This doesn't have much upward curve on it. That's not a particularly emphasized one. Oops. But that's what it sounds like. Okay. Is that all my sounds? I think that might be all my sounds. All levels complete. Bump, freeze, ice melt, level complete, secret, move, fail, pick up, plate press, release, put down, reset, rock, bump, fire, ice, land, lost, wind, scroll. That's the one I missed. So when you read a scroll, it makes that sound. I don't know what I had in mind for this, just like a little, Quirious sounding noise, just a generic sound effect. what's this? You know, something like that. Anyway, so those are all the sound effects. Right, there were some sound effects I wanted to put in here, but didn't end up getting. A rock splashing in water would be a real important one to get, but somehow that didn't happen. You know, different sounds for different ways you can lose rocks, like if a rock lands on a rock, or if it falls in the water, or if it falls in a pit. I missed two. I remembered two more things that I didn't cover here. Trapdoor. Trapdoor over water falling. So similar principle to like the blue and red switch. We have this little white noise click sort of at the start. Not quite a click, but just sort of a, you know, that's the sound of the trapdoor breaking. Then this is the sound of it falling. So that's not a great approximation of a water splash, but good enough you can tell what it is. Yeah, so just two separate tracks for that. So there's that and there we go. And then exact same start for the trapdoor of a pit, but with a, you know, sort of a cartoon falling into a pit sound after that. So yeah, not much to say about those. Pretty self-explanatory. So that's just, it's a triangle wave with a downward curving, downward ramp on it. Anyway, yeah, so that's all the sound effects, right? Did I miss any? I don't think I did. I did get torch light, right? Yes. Okay, so sound effects. Yeah, so water splash would have been an important one to also include that I wish I could have had. I didn't really need doors toggling because that's covered by the pressure plates going up and down. Those would always play simultaneously unless you had a pressure plate that wasn't connected to a door or something. I guess one thing I could have had... Sanctum has a lot of problems. I don't know if this really would have helped it much, but I could have totally had a sound of like a door failing to close or failing to open, you know, trying to but not doing anything. I don't think another sound effect would have been the thing that would communicate that there. But yeah, so rock falling in pit, rock, or in space I guess it is now, rock falling, going off the screen, rock falling in water, rock hitting rock. Those all could have been different sounds. I could have had like random variations or something, just pick from a bucket of different sounds for a particular sound effect, or pitch variations or something if I wanted to do that. I didn't. That wasn't the aesthetic I chose to go for. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Like, just different rock lost sounds are the only little bit of audio that I feel like I kind of should have added here that I didn't get to. Yeah, more than that, I just feel like animations are missing when they should have been present. And like I said, that animations and sound effects I consider very much tied together. Okay, so let's switch over and talk about music. So the music track for this game, the one that actually made it in. This thing, we've heard it plenty at this point. Enough that I should play it in full. This is the episode about it, anyway. So yeah, one repeating melody here. Right here, the bass drum drops out for one beat. It's just one that's omitted right there. Most of the rest of the time, it's just doing its thing. What is this? Okay, that's another one dropped beat. So this accompaniment goes away. We play this melody. There's the other dropped drum beat. Just two in the whole song. Well, and then it's excluded here. Other accompaniment comes in. Plays that melody. Huh. These three never play all together. So that's the whole thing all together. So the patterns, let's see, these are in the order they were created. Whoops, that's not the button I wanted. I want this one. So yeah, just, every quarter note bass drum there for most of it, except for where it's omitted for a couple of beats. And then this entire measure here doesn't have the drum on it. Main melody there, just repeating some notes, then goes upward, then does it again, then a variation. And what are you? You're the bass drum without the one thing. So that's the accompaniment number 1. And the end of that, just the 2 notes, huh? Okay, well, that's what it ended up being. Yeah, I tried to pack more notes in here, but it just sounded better with fewer for some reason. Yeah, you can barely tell that it's dropping out there. Anyway, I feel like this instrument here, like all of this, is the weakest part of this song. But it's good enough. Anyway, and then, right, this pattern 6. This is a long one, right? This is just the melody of... this could have been done with like 3 repetitions of this and then 1 different one. Doesn't really matter that much. So yeah, just that main instrument gets a little more frisky for just a moment. Then it goes back to, actually then it drops out and the other things take over. This, actually, what are you? Right, drum beat -1. So that happens 3 times, and then this once. So I kind of had like Baba Is You music in mind when I was writing this. That's sort of the vibe that I was going for. Not a particular track, just the overall general vibe. And, you know, just the thing that always happens when I write music. It all comes out sounding kind of like this. It's just, I guess it's just my sound. Anyway, yeah, so the instruments used here. That's, yeah, this one, right? Main. I don't know if there's anything interesting about opening these up. This is just the standard default instrument used for that I get in my composition program pretty much. So, you know, sine wave with harmonics, a little bit of distortion. A phaser is here. Okay, so that's the difference. That one doesn't come by default. Oh yeah, that adds a very nice character to that. That's good. Drum, pretty standard stuff, right? Is a sine wave? Right, okay, here we go. That's no sine wave. What is that? Oh, this is weird. This is sawtooth multiplied with sine, or not even sawtooth, like, you know, halfway between sawtooth and triangle. What a weird waveform. I think I like it, though. If this were just sine... Well, it'd be half the frequency for one thing because of the multiply. Okay. Well, yeah, whatever I did, it worked well. And then what I called bass, right, yeah, it'll play at a high frequency, which is weird, but that's sort of how it is. That's quite a waveform. How did I make that? So again, sawtooth, slightly inclined, harmonics, and a phaser. Okay, well, that's what it is. Makes that shape. Pure saw. Is that true? Almost. Pure with a little bit of incline. So yeah, just a plain old sawtooth wave. Nothing fancy going on for... Which part of that is it? Is it this? Yeah, okay, so this melody. That's pretty much just a saw wave. Compared to this, which was what again? Remind me? Right, the sine wave with distortion and harmonics and stuff. Right. Supposed to be vaguely piano-like, but it's kind of sort of something different. Anyway, yeah, so that's how that was put together. So I wanted additional music tracks for this. Like I said, the first, like, 4 measures of this came to me when I was trying to go to sleep. I got up real quick and jotted them down, and then over the next day just expanded them out into a complete song, just adding little bits until it sounded like enough for a song. So basically, like, I heard that in my head and thought, okay, that could work. Laid it down, and then I made it work. So yeah, I wanted, when I went to a secret world, yeah, my first idea was that as soon as you enter a secret world, you get this weird noise and you go off the edge of the screen, you know, this thing. And then I was thinking, like, the music could stop when that's playing, and then once it's done and the level appears, whoa, I'm using all the wrong key shortcuts here, right? You'd be in space and you'd be hearing something else. Again, this was something that came to me when I was trying to go to sleep or something. I only got as far as writing like one measure of this. It doesn't sound very good. This needed a lot of work, so I didn't find the time to spend on it. But here's what I was going for. Play. That's as much of that music as exists. So it has this like weird, crazed main instrument on it, which, why did I name it that? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so kind of a cool sound. I don't know if it works as a main instrument though. So it has a sine wave with a chord. Yeah, so 1 octave up, 1 octave down. Different amplitudes, some harmonics, a phaser going on, of course. How would that sound without the phaser? Right, and a bunch of controller things going on. Yeah, I messed with this for a while. Okay, doesn't do as much to the sound as I thought. So the chord and the harmonics are doing most of the work there. And there's some vibrato applied. Oh, that didn't... What the... Is that vibrato? Yeah, okay, vibrato has controller stuff applied to it. So it starts out strong and then weakens as the note plays through. And right, so there's more drums in here. Oh, the bass drum is weird. Oh, I crashed. Why? Would that crash again if I did the same thing? Drum-like. Where's my thing? Where's my thing? Audiolab, you seem confused. There it goes. Oh, we got problems here. Huh. Okay, this has a weird frequency curve. It goes back up after it... Yeah, I can hear that like, it sounds like some kind of bounce back or something. Kind of goes up at the end. Similar... Yeah, so multiplied... Sawtooth and sine, just like the other one, but with a different curve on it. And then kind of a little, I don't know, clap or something. Just a high frequency percussion. Just, you know, short white noise. Goes downward on the frequency curve in case that matters. Does it? It does. Oh, wait, that's, wait. I want 0. 0. Yeah, okay, it definitely does. And then that didn't make it in. That's just a pulse wave with a phaser on it. Okay, pulse wave with phaser. I was just experimenting with, and that's just the default instrument. You know, messing around with other instruments, thought I would do something, but didn't get very far. I think I could have done something with this, but just didn't find the time to spend on it. And that would also come with some technical challenges of, you know, controlling when the music stops and starts and fades and things, and, you know, there would be a lot more to it than just playing the one music track all the time in the game. And that ended up being easier enough that I just punted on this music and decided not to include it. I would have really liked to have, you know, 4 or 5 music tracks. I could have the dedicated secret one that could be that. But then, you know, after like a couple of stages here, maybe switch to something else, then bring it back to the original track toward the end of the game. Just different moods for different levels. What mood would I assign to each level if I were trying to do like a music mood here? So this is the... yeah, I feel like the main music track... Well, yeah, I can just play it in the game here. So yeah, this main music track, this is kind of like a, you know, we're going on an exciting little adventure, but also it's a puzzle game, so it's not in the foreground too much. That's kind of the mood of how I think of that. I'm going to turn it off because I want to think about other moods. So that's fine for the intro. Would be fine to continue into Wait, I think. Rock Vault, sure. That's all in the same mood. Then at Interrupt, things change a little bit. This is a little more of a kind of, you have one problem in front of you. You're kind of taking a quiet moment to sit there and think about it. The thing is, nobody who's played this level has really done that. They've just instantly seen what to do. This level's a little too easy for the mood that I'm imagining for it. But yeah, I'm thinking more contemplative for this, I guess. Less, we're going on a fun adventure and things are happening, and more like, what do I do here? Got some obstacle in front of me. Fenced, this is, yeah, I guess it would be best if they were kind of grouped up, like one music track would play for the first 3, then the same one would play for the next 3. Yeah, this is kind of the red-blue switch section. Then Swimming Pool. This is a sort of surprise difficulty spike. So you're, what mood would I assign to this music-wise? You're in a whole new place. Things are sort of familiar, but at the same time unfamiliar. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to put this into words, but I kind of am picturing the sound I would have in mind for this. I could write music that would fit the mood of this level. Yeah, and you're gonna have some serious obstacles in your way of getting to that exit. Then in Torch, you're learning about a whole new thing, and that sort of just continues through shooting range and... Okay, Frozen Lake, you're, learning about the fire token. That's its first appearance. So this is kind of the learning zone. Then Pillars, still just learning about the wind token, I guess. Then you get to Island Chain, you just kind of test what you knew. Like, I guess this is probably where I'd bring it back to the standard music track that actually ended up in the game. And then Chilled is kind of the conclusion of everything. Put all that you know together to get this puzzle done. And then the other music track would be the secret one. So yeah, 4 music tracks would cover my needs, I think. So you got we're going on a fun, exciting adventure one. That's at the start and the end. And then kind of a little more contemplative here. Maybe that would work for Swimming Pool. So Swimming Pool kind of has a different mood than... If I'd compare its mood to anything, I'd compare it to Sanctum, but Sanctum's a secret level. Well, maybe it's a secret level with the same music as Swimming Pool. Icekeep and Trapdoor could have the same mood to them. Like, Trapdoor would definitely have that crazed second music that I was wanting to put in there. Icekeep would, just because it's probably the first secret level you'll find. Sanctum... That does not fit Sanctum. Sanctum's a contemplative level, so this would get, like, the music that goes in Interrupt. Okay, well, that was a fun thing to think about. That was all completely off the cuff. I didn't really have those planned out at all. But yeah, that was a fun thing to contemplate. What could have been if I'd spent more time on the music here. Anyway, yeah, so that's the audio design. Got one final episode I want to do for this, going in-depth in how this game was programmed. So I'll show you exactly how it was put together and some of why it ended up the way that it is. Anyway, yeah, so I'll see you sometime for that.